Okay, translating Sean Clement videos into English / ball golf. Ready to go. Okay, so that video is great. All of his stuff that I've seen is great. I need to watch the rest of it. Couple of differences going into disc golf mode from golf mode. Where's good to start? Let's just summarize what the heck he's talking about first of all. So he's golf. So first of all, it's maybe get a left-handed golf club, but golf, right-handed, disc golf, right-handed. Mirrored footwork, we know that. Just to point it out. So what's he talking about? He's talking about suction cupping your feet down, and then he's talking about getting the shoulders down, having a lid on your swing, and then later he talks about losing the lid to your pressure cooker if you. So he wants you braced against the front side, right? So I guess you need to see here. There's so much in the video. So he wants you braced against the front side, right? Centered, braced. So I have a little bit of ground force pushing that way, and I'm catching that in my heel, and I feel tension in my glute medius right here. That's, if I'm throwing lefty, that's our brace. We do it out here, but it's the same feeling, just more angular leg because we have a more dynamic move in. So he wants you braced against that. That's your containment on the front side. Containment on the back happens by being careful about this. Like later in the video, he talks about if you go too much, you lose your compression, you lose your containment. So the way I talk about that recently in my throw is your footwork being gates. So closed gates, open gates. You don't want open gates. That's going to leak force. So if you're doing your X step and you leave your rear gate open, you're going to leak a bunch of force backwards. You don't have containment on that. If it's contained, now I can coil into that and explode out of it. If I don't, then all of the bad things happen. We know that. I think you were working on that in your throw, keeping that rear gate closed. And then same thing in the front. If you open the front gate, all of your force leaks out. If you leave your front gate closed, then all of a sudden you can get rotational power happening behind your brace. So containment, contain the front by being braced against the front leg. He says braced against the front leg as opposed to on top of the front leg. So if we, in disc golf land, if we get, well, it's the same. It's the same. He's talking about if you want to stay braced against the front leg in ball golf during your whole backswing. So he says you'll de-weight a little bit, right? Because the weight of the club going back gets you that moment of float where you don't even have to pick the foot up. It's just that drop into the brace. So when we do that in disc golf, it's way more dynamic because we're walking into this position. We're not starting static. If you're doing standstills, it's exactly the same. You get a little, so now we're braced against the disc golf side. You get a little lift, drop. But you want your drop to happen at rear extension. So that's hard. It's there. Boom. And then you come through, staying behind, braced against the front leg the whole time. So braced against, don't let the lid come off, right? The disc golf version of that is this. There's no containment anymore. It's got to be there. So that's what Trent was talking about, that when he said the brace is in the rear leg, there is a brace in the rear leg during the backswing, and then there's a brace in the front leg too. So they're symmetrical. So the first big difference that I see moving into ball golf is moving into disc golf from ball golf. Yeah, I'll go over that now and look back to the other thing. Their hit is right here. Boom. Down, dead center. We're different. So they can swing. Boom, doing an abbreviated swing so I don't break lights. They swing right about here where their arms start to turn over. They don't really care. That doesn't matter. It's just follow through. Shouldn't say it doesn't matter. It does matter, but your follow through isn't going to affect the ball. So in a sense, they don't really care what happens after this. But he's talking about, maintaining a Hyzer tilt. They don't call it that, but that's the lid on your pressure cooker is a Hyzer tilt. Same for us. If you lose the lid, you're hosed. So their hit is down. Our hit is at 10 o'clock if you're doing it right. So that's the first big difference. So they come keeping this Hyzer tilt, keeping the shoulders over the ball. They go whack, hit, follow through, staying down, come up. We do that too. Totally wrong. I don't want to talk too much shit, but Twirlybird 2.0 is exactly that. It's teaching you how to pop up out of your Hyzer and have no angle integrity whatsoever. That's all I'll say. So how do we fix that? They don't have a problem staying down over the ball like some people do, but it's way easier in ball golf to stay here because it's not it is a dynamic move, but compared to us, it's not dynamic. Their feet are staying relatively here. It's pretty easy to keep a Hyzer tilt. But when you grab a disc and try to throw dynamically with a Hyzer tilt, you're going to come up. You're going to pop up. So you're going to start at this angle, you're going to finish at that angle, and your throw is going to be complete garbage. So how do we stay on a tilt, given that our hit isn't here, and we care where our shoulders are until here, until the arm is 20 degrees past our hit, which should ideally be at 10 o'clock. We need counterweight. So the Hyzer axis has to be counterweighted by the rear foot. So your rear leg is on the line that your spine makes. That's how we keep the lid down. That's how we keep compression. That's how we stay on a Hyzer tilt. That's how we keep angle integrity. So we're going to reach back here, pull through dynamically, not hit our microphones, and finish on the same tilt that we started on. So that's the first thing that's missing in the translation to disc golf from Sean Clement. And then another thing that he says because we are against the brace, there's no need to push from the rear foot. If you slide onto the rear during your backswing, over rotate in our language, over rotate backwards, then you'll get stuck on the rear foot and you will need to push towards the brace. So remember, he wants you, so if we're golfing lefty, now he wants you braced against the front, so slight pressure, slight catch, and then don't slide onto the back foot, but stay braced against the front, but let the swing lift that pressure a little bit so that it can drop back down. Staying against the front leg is key because he's cueing all the rotation off of that. Same for us, but no one ever gets against the front leg because they're not weight transitioning mindfully enough, right? We just go, okay, now I'm going to brace, but you can't because you're on top of the leg, exactly like he's saying. So we all screw up our momentum going in and don't stay centered enough over the left leg. So we dump onto the right leg and then you can't brace. You need to stay centered on the left leg. So we need to find a way to be against the brace before the brace exists, right? So I need to be like, that's why I feel like it's so useful to get a golf club and get that feeling of against the brace, and do it backwards. Like, this is a thing that talking with Yuru, he really emphasized it, like, learn stuff on your offside first and then translate it to your good side and then integrate it into your throw. So I think there's a lot of value in learning righty ball golf, getting the feel, and then switching and bracing against your disc golf brace side and feeling how that's going to be different. So we need this feeling of being against the front leg before the front leg is on the ground, right? So from your X step, 3D coiling, like Teacher Man Guy says from baseball land. So this is the feel of being against your front leg, even though it's not down yet. And then you're going to have a little tip into toe to heel. And now you're actually, when that heel comes down, you're actually against the front. And you can pivot from there. Philip called me out on, thank you, sir. I did a very shitty demo where I was pivoting into my brace and getting the pocket when my heel went down and squishing bugs. So that's an artifact of trying to demo a dynamic move statically. Pretty sure that's where Squish the Bug came from, and someone was like, well, you're just like that. So that's got to be good, right? Let's blow that up. But the best way I have to demo it, I think, is here. So now I can actually make my leg do what it should do, which is kind of that, right? So the rear hip going down under is key. Separate video. So that feeling of getting against the brace, right? Here, I am braced against that leg. This is mirrored momentum. So if I have momentum going in, it'll hold me the same way my arm is. And I can stay braced against this the whole time. So in ball golf, they get hit, don't care, can't stand up. But we need stay down, stay down, stay down, stay down, and then the hit is here. So now I'm like this, right? So I need to be braced against that. I need to have my rear leg counterweighting. So here, I need to have my rear leg counterweighting my Hyzer tilt, right? Does that look remotely right? Yeah, kind of. But my foot should be over here. So not a perfect example, but better than squishing bugs. And then the other thing I messed up was it needs to be heel. So not here, but the heel, you're extending backwards. You're not extending backwards. You're walking around the disc, whatever you want to call it, until the heel comes down. That's when you peak. Or that's right before when you would peak. That brings the arm forward. All right, page 2 of notes. So our brace is harder to get to because it's more dynamic. So learn ball golf first and then translate it to disc golf. Lid coming off the pressure cooker, we talked about that already. He has another really good cue that's heavy glide around the pressure point in the brace. So you're keeping that against the front leg feel the whole time, and that is your pivot point. Not accurate. This is your pivot point. That's the bottom of your pole vault that defines where your pivot point is. Is that the same in ball golf? Probably, right? Because that's not the pivot. The pivot is here. And then the lifting makes it accelerate even more. So the lifting thing, Ben Hogan's The Move Part 2 video from the annoying guy with the dog talks about that. It's a 10-minute video with 30 seconds of content, but it's good content. So yeah, I think those are the big differences. Their hit is down, our hit is forward. So we need a counterweight in order to stay down to keep the lid on the pressure cooker through release and through follow through. That's the big thing. That's the big thing that you don't have in your throw yet, is you've made progress. The leg is getting a little bit right, but we need more right. So how you get there is rails and keeping your weight shift on a center third rail so that the rear leg continues forward. So that's an exaggeration, but you can do it like that, right? Initial step, X step, plant step, and then your left leg just keeps going forward and you get to this cross leg position. That's an exaggeration, but do it like that to get the feel for it. Simon does it, Drew does it, right? And Simon's stills, when he's releasing, this hip is lower, this hip, the leg is behind, and this hip is high. That's the finish on a Hyzer tilt, right? Reach back, Hyzer hips, follow through, Hyzer hips the other way. That's what makes the brace work the way we're talking about, is the hips finishing high and low and having a long leg and a short leg. So short leg, long leg is on your X step, you want that leg to be short. Long leg on your brace, you want that leg to be long. So you're a triangle like this, right? Long leg, short leg. We end up, because we have too much momentum coming in, we end up long leg, short leg, and now you're on top of your brace, not against your brace, and you can't brace anymore. So those are the things that I get from that video. Ask questions if that doesn't make sense. Yeah.